Auditor General Tsakani Maluleke is deploying a team of experts to oversee the use of funds related to government's flood relief efforts, and they won't be waiting until the process of disbursing the funds is complete. The team will be monitoring the funds as they're distributed by accounting officers. ENCA business editor Devon Murrigan spoke to the Auditor General about her real-time audits.
So the real-time audits are still audits. Yeah. They can only be done once there's been a transaction. Let's start there, right? We're not now going to run the state or run different programs on behalf of government. We remain the independent auditor. The difference here is that we're going to do it in real time. So instead of waiting for a year to go by before we go and conduct an audit, we will be working with accounting officers from the beginning to highlight to them the key risks that we see and to indicate to them the type of controls they need to be tightening so that they give themselves the best chance of ensuring that their programs run in the way that they've intended, right? And so that's part of the prevention. Yeah. And then we would also, through the detective work, audit much more quickly. Instead of waiting for a year, we'll audit in a short space of time. After a few transactions have happened, we'll audit and report on our findings. What that does is it allows those that run public institutions to have the benefit of our independent insight so that they can take corrective action quickly. Yeah. And also, we would report to government at the center, so the Department of Monitoring and Evaluation, the Presidency, the National Treasury would have the benefit of our insight and findings, and they too can then do their bit to drive the necessary improvements. The other benefit is that we would be able to share information with other public bodies within the state that have prosecutorial and investigations responsibilities so that the law enforcement processes can take place. And I think the other part I must mention is that we would be able to give Parliament and the legislatures and all those that are charged with oversight responsibilities timely information, timely reports, so that they too can run real-time oversight. And then South Africans will be able to see consequences in a short space of time in a way that does inspire confidence.
And I'm glad you brought that up because, as we said before, this is not the first time you're doing a real-time audit. You've done it under the environment of COVID-19 procurement and that relief funding there. So let me ask you then, the success of that, not just in terms of your domain, but the success of that just was not pleasing to the public anyway. We've seen what happened there. What went wrong and what lessons have we learned there?
You know, we've learned that if you have responsiveness in a system, you do get things to improve. I'll give you a couple of examples from those audits. In the first 3 months of the work being done at the UIF and at SASSA, we were able to audit and report and give findings to the people responsible for running those institutions. They took our recommendations, they strengthened controls. Part of the benefit was this. They were able to ensure that for the latter transactions, the latter months, the instances where people were declined benefits unfairly or unjustly, those instances were much fewer. The instances where people were getting paid and they shouldn't have been, those instances were even fewer. After we'd audited and there was responsiveness, 3.5 billion rand went back to the UIF as a consequence of that responsiveness, which is what you want. Another benefit was that the law enforcement agencies were then triggered into motion because we could share our databases, we could share the analysis, and they were able to then take the next step up to a point where you could see people being in the dock for having tried to defraud the scheme either at SASSA or at UIF.
The message would obviously go out, as I see it, to those accounting officers, right? Because you've mentioned in the past, you still have a situation where there's low-quality goods being procured. You can't understand why. Record keeping is bad. And then there's the other thing that you highlight in the past, the fact that technology doesn't speak to each other, you know, to the benefit of those who are mismanaging, isn't it? Because you'd have someone claiming UIF, but in the other corresponding department, it doesn't talk to the system, and this thing unfolds. How much of a barrier is this, and how rife is this?
It is a barrier. The integration of the different databases across different parts of government is urgent business, and it needs to be sorted out so that people are not denied benefit when they should have it, and that those who should not benefit from a scheme as designed certainly don't do it. So we believe that if that integration of these different databases happens and it happens effectively, we'll be able to get much greater success out of these well-meaning and well-intentioned programs that government has designed.
learning from the past, you would have your eye keenly on something in particular, because you've been through this before. What would that be for you as government starts to dish out tenders, as they start with this restoration process? Where do you have your eye on keenly this time?
So we'll have a keen interest on how procurement is run. And it's not about nitpicking. It's really about making sure that those decisions that are being made in the moment are defendable, and that they are consistent with those key principles of accountability, of transparency and good governance. We'll also have our eye on making sure that those service providers that are delivering goods and services are being held accountable for quality in a way that's expected. We'll also be looking at whether or not those that are benefiting from the scheme, whether it's from SASSA or any other relief program, are those that are intended beneficiaries, and that the scheme is designed in that way. You know, one of the benefits of having the reach we have, we audit every single public institution across the three spheres. So whether funds are being run through a municipality, a public entity such as SASSA, or through a provincial department, we would have the ability to audit them and see the whole system through. And we'd be able to see the decision being made about who's the intended beneficiary, how does it manifest on the ground. The other way we do it is also to work with civil society partners, and it's a lesson we learned out of the COVID-19 audits, those real-time audits, collaborating with civil society partners who are actually on the ground.
AG, thanks very much indeed for your time.
Thank you.